What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Mats podcast. This episode, I welcome back my good friend Zack, who operates studentofbjj.com and studentofbjj on Instagram, and also the upcoming app Champions Keep Score. I'm doing the intro this way because whenever Zack and I tend to get together and record, we don't even go into an intro. We just start talking and chatting it up. So I wanted to go ahead and drop an intro right now, let y'all know who's on the episode, who I'm chatting with. But otherwise, thank you and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the show.
All right, we're live. What's going on, man?
Man, not a whole lot. Just got home a little bit ago. Took the boy to like his third ever soccer practice, and
Nice.
yeah, it's fun to watch him run around. Just got home and ready to go off the mats.
Good. Sounds like a busy day. Good fun day for the kid. So you definitely understand and appreciate that. Sophie, sheesh. I brought her to the gym with me a couple weeks back, and the question from everyone: when is she going to start? When is she going to start? And I think my wife wants to put her in dance first, in dance, some sort of music, and swimming. And I'm okay with that. We'll get to jiu-jitsu eventually, and
It's hard in the summer.
yeah, I'm not. Initially I was kind of bummed, and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's better right now that we don't just toss her in there again. Don't want her to get burned out at age 5, and by the time she's 8, she's like, I hate this. So she's always asking to do jiu-jitsu. So it's not going to be something that I don't think she's going to ever not want to do it. Maybe, hopefully.
Yeah.
So, but I think Sarah wants to put her in soccer as well. So I don't know. There's all these activities she wants to put her in. Jiu-jitsu's not in the top 5, and I'm like, wow, we talked about this. But yeah, so Champions Keep Score.
Yeah, dude.
Everything's set with that. It's fully funded. I think last time I talked to you, the Kickstarter had just started, maybe.
Yeah.
So now here we are, several weeks later, fully funded. Dude, congrats on that. That's awesome.
Man, it was a lot of help. You and everyone else were a huge part of making that dream happen. So I can't thank you enough.
No, definitely. I was getting nervous because I worry about when I post stuff. I don't get a lot of views on my stories, and I was posting it to the stories. When I posted to the regular feed, it was doing well, but the stories, I started getting really nervous because it's like, dude, am I oversaturating? Am I just am I spamming people now? So I'm glad that everything worked out. I'm glad that the community came together.
Man, I'm telling you,
that's huge, because I know we talk about the community a lot, and many people hear us discuss the community, but I don't want people to think like, oh, we're just talking about the community, and it's not real at all. It's the community's not really there for us, and it showed big time that this jiu-jitsu community cares.
Sure.
So I'm glad that this all worked out, and I'm excited about it. I can't wait to start seeing everything roll out, the beta.
I know, man. I'm stoked.
So right now, with everything as it stands, like how soon, or how far away do you think things are, from not like a full launch, but just kind of samples and things like that?
Yeah. So, as you know, I've been working on the plan of everything forever. So this app, even what we sort of advertised that it is, that the features go way beyond that, long-term goals here. But each phase of the operation is in and of itself sort of a standalone feature, standalone app. So I was talking to my development team yesterday. I've got a front end developer and a back end developer working on this, and for the journal aspect, so not the video markup or whatever, but like just the journal, which is a standalone feature that I'm super excited about. Could be, alpha testing in 6 weeks or so, which would be me and maybe just a couple of people just checking for raw functionality. Alpha testing and beta testing can be pretty close to each other. So it could be beta testing within potentially, like 8 weeks. There's a lot of work to be done between now and then. So we'll see how that goes. But I would love to be beta testing in 8 weeks. And then depending on how that goes, 12 weeks or so to start rolling that out to a wider audience. And at that point, we can start alpha testing or beta testing those next set of features, so the video markup and everything else. So, once my team gets a good cadence, I think the features are going to come really good. And I've been working really hard on the fundamental concepts of the app. Making sure that the flow makes sense and doing a lot of the mock-ups and everything myself. Here's the features that we need, and it's going to make it a lot easier for the front end developer and the back end developer to just pick up what I started with and run. So we'll see how fast they can get it up and running. But like I said, I'm so excited. And you mentioned the community. Even if it hadn't funded, I was already blown away by the community response. I mean, there ended up being 178 backers to fund this app. And if you cut out, friends and family that don't do jiu-jitsu, there's probably about 160. And for that many people to pledge a project that they had never seen and they never really talked to me about, just taking my word for it that it's going to be awesome, and a few like super rough mock-ups, that's incredible. That's nothing but community. I don't think there's many niches out there that could do what we did with the resources that we had. So I consider it already a huge win. The Instagram account for the app has over 600 followers. And that's 600 potential users, for when it rolls out, because people wouldn't follow the Instagram account if they weren't, intending on using the app.
Absolutely.
So it was a huge, even if I didn't get a single dollar from it, just that response alone was enough to tell me like, yeah, I'm onto something here, and there's definitely like real value, and the dream is alive and well. So, the money's a nice part of it, but that wasn't really the whole point of the Kickstarter.
One of the things that I notice also with it is the excitement. Anytime I posted it, and it could be the same few people seeing it, but then you get a couple new ones trickle in, and then they comment, they say this looks awesome, this is a great idea, things like that. Those are the things I enjoy seeing, because that means to me, just like, okay, people are in. If people are saying this looks like a good idea, you don't just say it's a good idea and then shrug it off. At least I don't. If I think something's a good idea, I want to know more. I want to, I want to sign up for it, because, you're invested in it. There were a couple, I think there are two people on, and it all was on one post that I think it was the initial post where the features were kind of breaking down. You're talking about sparring time, and people were, this is one thing. Now, this is just kind of a people thing that I noticed. It's like people are like 15 minutes for sparring. Like, we spar for this long, and it's like, you don't realize that other gyms exist. You don't understand that other gyms do things differently. Because even right now, just looking around at gyms in my area, I'm not leaving my gym, but I'm just trying to look for other spots, kind of hop in and get some extra drill time. I'm just,
cross-pollination is the best thing you can do for your jiu-jitsu.
Yes,
there's no doubt about that.
But I'm looking at everyone's schedule, and most of the classes are, an hour. You got your technique, your warm-ups and everything, and then it looks like everybody's doing about 15, 20 minutes of sparring at the end. So it's like, okay, all these guys that are making all this noise about, well, that's not enough sparring time. It's like, well, look, I'm seeing tons of gyms out here doing about that much time. And, Maryland's not a huge, Maryland's not California. California's a whole different beast when it comes to jiu-jitsu. But, the Maryland schools, they put out some, kick-ass grapplers as well. And, you can knock what you want about our sparring time, but it works. But
yeah,
that was the one thing. And I take things personal. When I saw them kind of
it ruffled my feathers a little bit too, but
yeah, I've been doing a lot better about not responding to stuff like that on social media lately, especially because once upon a time ago, I would tell people to meet me up at Arundel Mills Mall out here in Anne Arundel County. It was like, I give them the address to the mall, like, meet me there. And I'm like, dude, you could get murdered. What are you doing? Like, stop doing that. So now when I see, a comment I don't like, I don't even acknowledge it. I don't like it. I don't. It's someone. I've started exploring TikTok because it's grossly addictive. But I had someone make a not so friendly comment about one of the posts, and I think I did respond to him. I gave him a smiley face. It's like, I see you, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, don't think I don't. But either way, with everything going on with Champions Keep Score, this is huge. I'm excited. I can't wait. And, just as a friend, I'm super proud of you. And just, I get sometimes misty eyed, but I think I'm super emotional. Like, I was watching old WWE the other night and started crying. So,
Dude, some of that stuff was real though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was hard not to get wrapped up in it and get involved.
I got, I'm talking like early 90s before the Attitude Era kind of started, right when Shawn Michaels threw Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window.
Yeah.
And I'm a Shawn Michaels fan, but I got emotional. I was like, yo, what are you doing? Don't break the rockers up. No. But just looking at this and just watching the project grow, I do get misty eyed because it's just thinking, like, dude, this is inspirational. Number one, I mean, you had a dream, you had a goal, and you're pushing forward with it and doing it. And that's just, every day I sit there and I think, it's like, man, like this is what hard work gets you. And dude, congrats on it. And just like, I can't say enough good things. So
thank you, man. I appreciate that. And it's weird, life, I've had this philosophy for a while. And when it popped into my head, I kind of told myself, you're kind of full of shit about this, but I've just maintained it, and it has proven itself time and time again to be just good advice for myself. But if you make the best of every situation that comes your way, then in the end it'll work out for the best. And every little decision that comes up, you're not always going to have like the perfect decision, but if you just make the best of it, if you have the confidence that no matter what comes up, make the best of it, then at some point down the line, man, it pays off. And that's kind of what this was. There's a lot of fear of failure. Like I don't think I would have done this project 8 years ago because I would have been too afraid to leave things behind and everything. But I've kind of proven the concept to myself that, man, if the problems arise and you make the best of it, then things are going to work out for the best in the end. You may have some really tough times in between, but one day you'll wake up and go, oh my God, I can't imagine what this would have been like otherwise. I think back to, when I started jiu-jitsu and I was the low man on the totem pole for so long. And, there are times where I love the sport, but wanted to quit. And I remember as a blue belt, I don't know if you remember, but I had the long hair, the man bun and everything. And I remember there was this one class where I was in training with somebody, and they had me in side control, and their elbow was on my hair, and it was pulling my hair, and I was just mad and in side control, so I was frustrated. And I remember after the round ended, I gave them the respect they deserve, but walking away, I was like, why am I even doing this sport, man? Like, this is I've peaked. Like I'm not getting any better. Like this is awful. Why do I put myself through this? And then, it was around that time that I started student BJJ, and it was, I'm struggling. Maybe I can help someone else. Maybe I can make the best of my own struggles. And then, here we are. I guess it's been about 4 years now, and things are just, I can't believe where I am now, considering when I almost quit, 4 years ago.
And I think that's the important thing too, is looking at those moments where you almost quit, and then, it becomes a question of, what would have happened had I done that? Where would I be? What, would you be any happier? I can't imagine, I guess being biased and being in this, I can't imagine quitting jiu-jitsu and being happier.
Right.
Again, I'm biased because I'm pretty damn happy doing jiu-jitsu, and I try to convey that to everyone that I know that doesn't train, and it's always weird to explain. It's like, yeah, my knee hurts a lot. I can barely walk, but dude, I love it so much. But that goes with when I used to work out and play basketball and play football, and I'd be sore all the time, but it was earned.
Yeah.
It wasn't just I'm sore because I've been sitting around. I'm sore because I'm just getting back to it. I'm sore because I'm out there busting my ass. And that's the thing with jiu-jitsu, and just having a desire to do anything in life. It's just, as you move forward and you say, look, I almost quit here. And that's part of it too, is, when you're doing it so much and you're pushing so hard and you just can't get over that hump. And then you're just like, oh, okay. There's that moment, that time that it clicks, whether it be jiu-jitsu, whether it be developing an app, whether it be, just doing housework, maintenance. So, we just got to keep pushing.
That's it. When I was coming up in college, I was in a fraternity, and which, by the way, if you'd asked me in high school if I was going to be a fraternity guy, I'd have laughed and said no way. But same thing kind of happened as jiu-jitsu. I found a group of people that I really respected first, and I felt like they could help me be a better man, and that I could help them do some pretty amazing things. And one of the mottos, which I may butcher the Greek now because it's been probably a decade since I've even thought about it, but I think something like Kale Patakla or something is, there were two translations of it. This is open motto. I'm not giving away trade secrets or anything, but it meant not without labor. And the other translation, which I actually preferred, is beautiful things are difficult. And that's something that I just carried along with me, like, is it hard? Yeah, it is. But you know what? That's where true beauty comes from. It's from doing the thing that's hard, that no one else wants to do, and being a better version of yourself because of it. And, that, I guess that hit me during some formative years or something, because I've carried it along with me, and I don't shy away from, things that are difficult, like jujitsu, the pain, the strife, the doubt that comes from just getting like your ass kicked on a daily basis. And you know what? I'm a happier, more balanced person because of it, so.
I have my buddy that I'm working on our other podcasts, and I try to slip in conversations about jiu-jitsu every chance I get, because it's not a jiu-jitsu podcast, but I try my damnedest to turn into one. But when he and I talk about jiu-jitsu, there are a lot of points that he'll make that I get where he's coming from, but I try to point out to him that you can't understand specifically where we're coming from until you're out there on the mat and understand where we're coming from.
Yeah.
It's just hardship, and trying to overcome and just be a better you. That's what comes from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, there's another phrase from those same days that our alumni advisor said that also struck home, and it was, when you're on the inside, you can't explain it, and when you're on the outside, you can't understand it. And that's what jiu-jitsu is. Somebody on the outside, they can't understand why we do this, why we're sore, why we risk blowing our knees out, or whatever. And I can't really give them a great answer other than like, I'm so much happier even with the risks. And come try it out.
Yeah, I remember talking to my grandfather, and he said it to me kind of jokingly, but I was dead serious. So he goes, "Do you think I could do it?" And my grandfather, he's just elderly. He's got a sharp mind. He actually just stopped running just recently because of his back. But he still gets to the basement, still gets on the elliptical. He's still working out. And
man, that's incredible. That's the key.
Yeah. It's like both my grandparents. My grandma's 91, and it's crazy just, seeing them be so active and just living life. They go to concerts, they go to the Washington Mystics games, they go to the Orioles games, and it's just so crazy thinking like, these two, they're living their life. And, I joked about it last week with my buddy. We were talking about getting old and just what's life going to be like for us, when we're in our 80s, when we're in our 90s. And, I was like, well, if it's up to me, I'm still going to be doing jiu-jitsu, as best I can, whether it be, maybe I won't be on the mat, physically, maybe, I'm helping walk people through it. I'm going to be involved with jiu-jitsu until the day I die. I'm not, this sport can't get rid of me. But it's just, my grandfather asked me if he, if I thought he could do it. And I told him with a straight face, I was like, yeah, like, come on out to the gym. You'll work with me and I'll take care of you. I'll make sure, you're going to, be safe. And, he looked at me and smirked and was like, no, I'm just joking. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, come on out. You can do this. I believe in you. So, like I said a couple episodes back, look, I don't think jiu-jitsu is for everyone, but I think everyone should try it.
I'm with
just, in that way, hey, this isn't for me.
What's the risk? I guess there are risks, but like, why not try it? It could change your life.
Yeah. I mean, you do the week trial, the 1 week trial in 1 week. That's all we're asking is, for a couple hours of your week. And if you like it, cool. Keep coming back.
And there are so many stories about people that, they just wanted something else. They came in, they picked up, the dad weight, 20, 30, 50 pounds, whatever, or the mom weight, or, and then they start training a little bit. They kind of like it a little bit. They go 2 days a week, and then their kids get older, and then maybe working a third day a week. Before you know it, man, there's like stories that you just can't believe. It's, on the left side, they're wearing some pants. On the right side, those pants are 6 times bigger than their waist is. Yeah. And it just, it's such a great workout. It's such a great mental health boost. And you don't have to start off and be world champion. You can come casually and work it in, and it will still change your life.
That's where I am kind of right now, mentally, just kind of getting back into it. And now I feel like I am back. But then I had to kind of take a detour and ask myself, what are you here for? Are you here to compete? Are you here to just better yourself? Are you here to, keep yourself mentally sharp? What is it? And, in sitting there asking myself those questions, I realized it's like, it for me is just, it's a lot of things. Mental health is a big part of it. I go to therapy after jiu-jitsu, and it's kind of unfair because I'm in a great mood. And, there are weeks where it's like, I want to tell my therapist, I think I'm done. Like, I come in here and everything's going great. But then there are weeks where, like last week I had a really bad cold. I was like, just didn't want to even go near the gym.
Got a little taste of the Delta variant.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. It was because I haven't been near anyone.
Yeah.
That's what's weird about it. But I woke up one morning, my throat was scratchy. I was like, maybe it's allergies. No big deal. I go to work, I mask up. Still, nothing, no big deal. Then that was a Friday. I go into work on a Saturday. Start feeling a little worse. Sunday, couldn't even get up out of bed. And then Monday hit, and I felt like I'd been pushed down a flight of stairs. And I look at my wife. I was like, "Look, I'm gonna stay home from work." And then Tuesday gets there. I go back in. I feel a little bit better. And she was like, "Are you going to the gym? You going to train?" I was like, "But probably not a good idea, just because
Yeah.
even though you're feeling better, you're still shedding."
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to take anything to anyone. Wednesday I took off. Then I was like, "Look, you know what? Let's just take the full week, recover." But during that time, I was going through some real mental health struggles. I was like, okay, this is why I keep therapy,
Yeah.
because when I can't get to jiu-jitsu, I am a basket case. But it's and also there's just challenges there in jiu-jitsu that make me there are challenges that make me feel like I can do this.
Yeah.
If I'm dealing with something at work that's extremely difficult, just whether it be with a tenant that's going through something that's making us go through something, I have to relate it to jujitsu. And, without jujitsu, I don't have those comparisons. You don't have these comparisons in football and basketball as you do, same comparisons like you do in jiu-jitsu. So jiu-jitsu is always there for me.
Yeah. And there's nothing like it, man. There is nothing like it to just fix. It doesn't fix anything, honestly. It turns down how much you care about it. If there's a problem going on, someone's going to yell at you, or your own self-doubts or whatever, it just turns the volume down on it. And I haven't found anything that compares to it.
So with now kind of being fully back to training for you, and then also being immersed in developing the app, how's that split between training and kind of focusing on just everything? How's that split working for you?
Well, it's weird. I guess the first thing that I've noticed is how much I want the app to be ready, because I want to take notes. Like, I'm learning things. There was Jake McKenzie came to our gym for a couple weeks, and he did a seminar. It's the first seminar I've attended in probably like 3 years, 4 years. I'm usually not interested in seminars, depending on who's teaching it or whatever, because I just don't get a lot of value out of it. So it ends up being expensive. But Jake McKenzie was incredible. And I don't care if he comes within 50 miles of here again or 100 miles again. Like, yeah, I'm going to another seminar. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, why did he come now and not like 2 months from now? Like, I wanted so badly to be able to like take notes and do everything like that. So kind of the first big thing I've noticed is how ready I am to have this app functioning, because it's like, I want to use it. It's been kind of tricky. So I haven't worked like a normal job since December. So we're going on like almost 7 months now. And, it's kind of, I work really hard on it for a while and get to a place where I can't do much more and I have to wait for my team. And then, I kind of wait. And so I'll get wrapped up in other projects or get pulled in. Maybe I'll start watching my son more or something, so my wife can do something. And I'll get out of the habit of having that time to focus. And so I keep oscillating back and forth between like hyper focus and a lack of focus. The whole time I'm making steady progress, but I don't have that routine. And then there's been some personal things that have also kept me from getting into that like really stable routine. So that's my goal. Starting actually probably tomorrow is to isolate myself for a certain amount of time every day that I can really focus on the app development. I'm making a very strong effort to train 4 to 5 days a week. If I miss I prefer to train at like lunchtime. I find that's when I'm most able to focus. And then when it's done, it doesn't like kill the rest of my day. Like if I do evening classes, it's hard for me to go to sleep that night. I'm so amped up and I'm thinking about it. And I'm not bringing everything to the table because it's at the end of the day. Yep. So for me, like lunch classes are where it's at. So the balancing act for me has been like, how do I balance the fact that I'm here at the house and I'm a team player with the family, so I'm always trying to help them out. How do I like be selfish, get myself away and focus on this app development and train, and then not fill up my time? You know, like I could easily spend 40 hours a week or more of my own time, and then I haven't really gained anything. Like the ultimate goal is for me to have the schedule that I choose. You know, I want to be able to train 2 times a week, or 2 times a day, or, you know, 3, whatever it works out to. I want to have that freedom, and I can't have that freedom until I knock some things off the list. And how can I get there without also losing my sanity or, overdrafting the bank account too much?
With the balance too, and, you know, trying to, I guess, get yourself, you know, kind of in a more stable routine. Like you said, with the training midday, lunchtime being preferred. How do you feel? Like, I'm not sure if your academy offers morning classes too, like, you know, 6 a.m. classes, stuff like that. How does that work for you as an option too? Or, you know, how do you feel about the morning classes?
So there've been some, man, it's just weird. Like I want to be a morning person. I do. Like I see a huge value in getting up early and getting things done. If I can roll out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, I feel good about my day. But I very rarely do that, especially if I don't have something that's like a true deadline. I tend to not prefer the 6 a.m. classes because I'm a coffee drinker. And if I drink coffee right before training, that's bad news bears for some reasons. And if I don't have coffee before I train, then it's just not that effective for me. But there have been like times in my life where that's the time that made the most sense to train, and I've done it. And it felt good at the end of it, but I didn't get a lot out of the beginning of it. Once the cobwebs are out, you know, once I'm alert and everything, it's good. Honestly, like I would have probably continued to do the early morning classes, except for it's so hard to get a good class there. You really isolate yourself with the same 2 or 3 people. Some gyms may have more, but for me, it's always been like 3 or 4 people that are like, they're going to be there every morning. And I don't get to really stretch my wings and train with like a lot of different body types and styles.
With our new affiliation, well, we've always been affiliated with Crazy 88, but now our gym is a Crazy 88, and it's now kind of a thing where we're all floating between the 3 gyms working together. I've looked at the schedule over at our Elkridge location, which is about 15 minutes from where I'm in between 2 locations, 15 minutes in both directions. But I see they have a Tuesday morning 6 a.m. class, and I've thought about that. I'm always wondering, like, how do people feel about that? Because I don't know that I'm a morning person. I don't know that I'm not, because when I'm up in the morning, you know, I'm rocking and rolling. If you say go to jiu-jitsu at 6 a.m., I'm like, okay, cool, let's roll, you know. Yeah. But I'm also up until 3 in the morning.
And that's I'm in the same boat there, yeah.
You know, no matter what I tell myself, it's like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'm going to be asleep by 11. No questions asked. And I look up, it's 1:30. It's like, okay, well, I mean,
are we the same person?
I have no idea why this, like, I don't know why I'm this way. I've asked my therapist, like, hey man, what's going on? Like, can we fix this?
Yeah.
And she suggested a billion different things, and all of them, you know, make sense. And I've done it all. You know, it's like no electronics an hour before bedtime, you know, read. You know, and the problem with me reading before bed is, yes, it makes me very tired, but then I get frustrated because I can't focus on the reading because I start getting into the book. I'm like,
yeah.
There's a movie that came out a few years back called Black Klansman. and my wife got me the book, and it's sitting here next to the bed. I'm like, I want to read this, but I know I'm going to start falling asleep. And I'm going to get pissed because I'm falling asleep, and I really want to read this book.
Yeah.
So I turned the movie back on. It was like, look, come on, watch the movie and then read the book. Try to pair it up, and then maybe kind of coast into a sleep routine. But with the morning classes, it always seems like a good idea. And for, a lot of people, they are that early bird gets the worm type individual. They need to get out there. But I'm also a coffee drinker. So it's like, I don't want to get up at 5:30 knowing I got to be at that gym at 6. And in between all that, I need to, chug down a thermos of coffee before getting onto the mat. It's just, and then, like you said, you're going to run into the same people, because the 6 a.m. class isn't something where, you got 15, 20 different people coming in. It's usually probably about 5, 6, of the same people every 6 a.m. And like I said on my last episode, I started memorizing people's patterns. I wasn't really learning jiu-jitsu. I was just learning like how you move, how you breathe, when you pause. And yes, that is part of jiu-jitsu, but not the way I was doing it, because I wasn't really, utilizing jiu-jitsu to win those battles. It was just utilizing time and then just bullying people. And I was like, hey, you don't really know any submissions, do you? Nah, what are those?
Yeah.
So
position first.
Yeah, it's like, I got the position. They're like, yeah, but now you need a submission. What's that? Like, I thought we are just here to, get. They said, being heavy is a skill, so that's what I'm practicing. By eating all the pastries. So yeah, just I'm always wondering that about people though, with the options of training in the morning. Just how do people feel about it? And I guess it's more so a matter of if you're a morning person or not, I guess. And when I say morning, I mean like psychopath early morning person.
Yeah.
Not
one of my best friends in the entire world is one of those annoying morning people. And like, he would get up and he would be home making breakfast. He used to be roommates with him. He'd be home making breakfast, already in like slacks and a button down, ready for work. And he's like, yeah, I went to the gym, had a good workout this morning, everything. And I'm like falling down the stairs because I can't even like open my eyes. And you got to be kidding me. But he's one of those weird people that, gets sleepy and then just goes to bed.
Yeah.
And that's not me. I'm a night owl. It's, I don't know, it's self-destructive in a lot of ways. But my brain is on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can sleep anywhere, anytime. If I choose to take a nap, if I choose to go to sleep, like, I'm out. I'm very rarely the person tossing and turning. But the other side of that coin is I don't want to. I've got things that I want to do, things I want to learn, or, there's a show I've spent all day working and I'm not ready to go to bed. I need some me time. And I'm taking me time now from me time in the future. And I'm always paying that price.
Yeah. I try to justify it that way too. It's like, look, if you rest now, you have more time later. In my mind, it's like, I like documentaries, it's just nighttime is that time where it all starts to click. It's like, I'll turn on old fights, I'll watch like old UFCs at like 11:30 at night, and it's not even like watching a fight. It's like I'll watch a full fight card at 11:30 at night, like that's normal. And if it goes into 2, it's just like, okay, no big deal. And then I turn on another one. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep to this one. Meanwhile, I can hear it in the background, like, wait a minute. It's like, I know what this is. I know what they're about to do. So yeah, my brain's always going, and I don't know how to work with that. And again, my therapist, she's like, hey, get away from electronics and get away from this. And it's like, okay, it's like, I've done that, but my brain is still firing, and I don't know how to shut it off. And
Yeah, I get
I
it, man.
know medication years ago, my previous primary physician, he gave me Ambien. This was like in the early days of Ambien. Ambien was like, I don't want to say brand new, but new enough.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any like weird Ambien horror stories, not that I'm aware of at least, but I do recall I lived back home. My then girlfriend, now wife, we both moved back home. We had an apartment together, but we're like, look, rent here in Maryland is unnecessarily expensive.
It's
So
egregious.
yeah, it's at a point right now where I don't know. It's like, you can't find. My buddy just told me he has a 2-bedroom for 2,000. It's like, sheesh, that's not normal,
Wow.
is it? And
That's
he was
about
like,
double what it is here.
well, Maryland is grotesquely expensive though, because especially where we are, because we're in between DC and Baltimore and Annapolis.
Yeah.
So, everyone's like, well, you got to take advantage of the fact that, you have the nation's capital, the state capital, and then drugs and needles and rats. So, you got two great things and then, a questionable thing where, hey, they filmed The Wire there. So, you got that. Like, no thanks. Well, Inner Harbor is beautiful and the National
Yeah.
Aquarium is beautiful too. So Baltimore has some pluses, but that's what they take advantage of. Is like, well, we're going to charge as much rent as we can because you're like right in the center of all three. But when I moved back home, I talked to my doctor. He was like, look, I'll prescribe you some Ambien. I was like, I was kind of really wanting to go to a therapist. He was like, well, here, try these pills first. And see,
What a
take
doctor.
my previous physician is like, if there's a pill for it, he was like, here, try it. I was like, dude, like, relax.
You probably had a
Like,
pharmacy in the office.
yeah, like actually he did. I remember he would give me he gave me samples at first, and then the samples, they were fine. I was like, all right, go ahead, write the script. He writes the script, and I remember the first time. Well, the first time taking it was fine because there were lower doses. When I got the prescription, they were higher, and I didn't think to cut them in half. So I remember,
Next level.
yeah, oh yeah, like I was on the phone with my wife or girlfriend. Nah, we weren't engaged yet. Yeah, so boyfriend, girlfriend. I was on the phone with my girlfriend and I was watching South Park. Had the DVDs in. I'm on the phone with her. I had already taken Ambien, so I'm fine. I'm sitting there. We're talking. I stood up to change the disc in the DVD player, and it was a wrap. I stood up, hit the floor,
Oh man.
woke up about an hour later. I was like, holy shit, where am I? And, crawled back up to bed, turned off the light, went to sleep. Woke up the next day a little groggy. Never took.
But you remember falling out and getting up.
I remember fall because I remember my knees hit the floor. It wasn't like just a straight like timber fall. Like I dropped to my knees and then fell from there, and it was a wrap. And then I woke up.
Man.
It was like, holy shit. Okay. I started cutting them in half, and it was like kind of a take as needed. And then it just turned to, you know what? Let's just figure out a natural way to sleep. Maybe there are better answers than these pills.
Yeah.
I don't remember because I never flushed them. I think they just sat in the cabinet and expired. I don't know, but after about, I want to say less than a month, I just completely stopped taking them because I was going to try to, all right, let's take one, every other night. And I was like, nope, let's take half every other night. Nope, not a good idea either. And my girlfriend, she was worried. She was like, yeah, Yeah, you should probably not mess with those. But at this point, with my sleep pattern, I've just accepted the fact that I'm up at bizarre hours at night. I may as well just figure out what to do. But now that I figured out TikTok, now that's horrible because
That
I,
just adds to it.
I just look at these true crime stories and these weird facts that you may not have known. It's like,
Yeah.
holy shit. Like I'm then last night I actually put my phone in the drawer. I put the phone in my bedside table drawer. I was like, just get away from me. I
Yeah.
don't want to do this now. But it's nighttime is the right time, I guess. So with working on the app and everything, what's been kind of one of the bigger challenges for you just in all of
Yeah.
this?
So the challenges that come up are strange. Like when you're working in tech, you almost everything we do now is on a phone, on a computer, whatever. You think you would just be able to off the shelf build something. And for a lot of things you can, but I've kind of taken for granted all this time how weirdly difficult it is to build something from scratch. And the front end and back end developer that they're on my team, the front end developer, Rob Spears, which by the way, check out his music, Rob Spears Trio. He's going to be releasing some stuff pretty soon. He had his first gig in 14 months,
Nice.
Saturday. Incredible musician. He was a groomsman in my wedding. I lived with him. He's one of my roommates for a while. Love him to death. And he is a phenomenal front end developer. And he's been really helping me and holding my hand on getting that. And the back end developer was a recommendation from him, somebody that he knew professionally. And they're both incredible. So the backend developer, Andy, he is building a lot of this from scratch using, best principles and everything. And so he was the one that selected, we're going to use, this for hosting. We're going to use this for the database. We're going to use this technology here. And so everything that he picked was, things he knew or things he wanted to use. And every single project that you do may involve a different, they call it tech stack, a different set of technologies put together. And so there's no like one-stop shop for building a database from scratch for like an app like this, where you're going to have like user accounts and you got to protect those user accounts, and the user is going to be uploading videos of themselves and pictures of themselves. And you can't do a fly-by-night operation where people are going to be dedicating a lot of time and energy into this, because the last thing I want to happen is for their account to mysteriously disappear or to get hacked, or God, what if they uploaded some videos that are highly inappropriate or illegal, or there's so much to consider on it. And so I've given him a lot of free reign, and he's beautifully paranoid about things going wrong. So he's making sure that passwords are stored properly and not. So this is crazy. As an aside, the best practice is actually not to store passwords at all. Like, I don't know what Facebook does, but for example, Facebook doesn't actually know your password. When you type it in and you type it again to verify and they accept it, they actually have no clue what that password is. They take your password and they add some kind of string to the end of it that's, they call it like salt and hashing. So they add salt to it, which is like some predetermined phrase that's going to be like 70 characters long, some sentence or random digits or whatever. Every single password in the database has that same salt added to it. Then they run the password through this hashing algorithm, which means they take whatever your password is and whatever the salt is, combine those, and then run an operation on it once. Then they take that result and run the operation again and again. And they run that through some predetermined number of times, 14,000, 5 million, whatever that is. And whatever your password calculates to, that hash is what they store in their database. So they don't actually even know what the password was, nor do they care. They store the hash. And the only way, so if somebody hacks into their system, all they see are maybe username and this hash. But if you type in that hash, if somebody sees that and they try to hack it, so they type in bjwiki@aol.com or whatever, and that the hash into the password field, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
And a hash is one directional. You can't reverse engineer it. If you know what that digit is, like if you know what the hash is, you can't back into what the password would be. So like this, it's just wild, some of the stuff that's going on. Like it's weird to think all these places don't even know what my password is. All they care about is if I know the password, if I put it into the equation and the equation spits out something that matches their database.
Hmm. Well, that
So
explains a lot when I can't get into my Facebook. Like, you know the password. Just tell me the password. Why don't you tell me the password? They're like, we don't know the password. Why don't you know your password? Don't ask me these questions.
and that's why they can't give you the password is they don't know it. They have no way of knowing it. If they have a developer on their team that goes rogue, they may get an entire list of these hashes, but they can't actually back into the password. Now, what they can do is they can take common passwords and run those through their hashing algorithm and see what the result is and match that result to their database, which is why you shouldn't reuse passwords. Because if another company happens to use the same algorithm with the same salt, now your password can be in multiple databases. So that's the danger in doing it. Anyway, your question was about the problems. I never knew it would take this long to just set up a general database for an app. But every week we have a call, and the problems that are being addressed are valid and they're important. And it's like I just want to be able to use it, but I also want it to be safe, and I want everyone to be able to put their information in, and me with a straight face say, listen, we've done our due diligence on this. Like it's good to go. You're not going to just lose everything. And so that's been the biggest challenge, is just letting the back end of the website be built from scratch and be built the right way. And I never thought in a million years it would take that long, because every app has a database of some kind. You'd think you'd be able to just like buy one off the shelf, but there's so many technologies out there. Each one does something a little bit different. So once you pick that, there's no longer an off the shelf solution anymore. You'll have to basically write code from scratch anyway. You may as well do it from the get.
And I never knew that. That just, the way, that you just explained it, it's like, okay, that makes sense, just with so many different, just everything, every different kind of app, every different kind of website, all of. So it does make sense, having to come from scratch. But, had I tried this, I wouldn't have known that either. So I guess, you telling me that, it's like, okay, so at least if I ever say to myself, hey, let's make, I don't know, an app. There's an app for everything except for prostate exams, and I'm going to make an app for that, because my buddy just had to get one.
I will not be a beta tester for
that. It's like there's got to be some other way to do this. Like, here, take my phone, just scan me. But just knowing that, hey, it has to come from scratch. It's not just like like you have a model already there, a skeleton there, and you start putting the pieces onto the skeleton. So that's, definitely good to know. And I'm sure extremely challenging, just coming from the ground up and having to essentially put this all together piece by piece. And one thing that you said in there that I, as a, future user, definitely appreciate, is knowing that you all care about making sure people's information is protected. And it's not just like, okay, here, hop on our app, and they're a risk, sure, but like everything's a risk, and you'll figure it out. Like, no, you guys are looking at it from those angles of like, look, we want to make sure passwords don't get compromised. We want to make sure that people are uploading videos, their videos are, protected, your information is protected. And, just, period. I would hope people would appreciate that, and definitely, just, understand that as the developer, that's a big thing. And, there's so many different websites out there that just, they're just about getting the website up, getting their ad money, and letting it run, and you'll figure it out later on the back end versus, look, let's just stop the problem before it gets there. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
Well, it's like, there's I don't know if you knew this or not, but by trade, I guess before this life, I graduated with an engineering degree. I was a mechanical engineer for several years, and with any curriculum that you take, the classes, they always have, sort of like an ethics class to go with it. What are your best practices? Your first year, what can go wrong? Here's why what we're teaching is important. And like, I'll never forget the case study of, was it the Ford Pinto that they all caught on fire?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were some obvious like engineering issues, but rather than address those issues, rather than do a recall, they tried to hide it. They tried to, and it was a disaster. Like, it put Ford years behind where they could have been. It killed people, and we don't think of like our website security as being, life or death, but anytime technology is not considered properly, anytime that somebody cuts corners in technology, it can ruin lives. Maybe this jujitsu app, if somebody hacks it, it doesn't ruin your life in the same way that, crashing your Ford Pinto would. But look at Parler. During all the election stuff that happened, that website, that app, the entire issue was piss poor programming. The person that did a lot of the development did not follow best practices. They allowed somebody to get admin privileges and then allowed that admin to create as many other admin accounts as they could, which they spread to many, many other hackers, which then created their own admin systems. It allowed bots with admin access to crawl the entire site and pull information. When somebody would upload a picture or video, they didn't scrub the metadata that most of us don't even know exists. But when you take a picture on your phone, it tags a location. If your GPS is on, it tags information about the date, the time, everything. And they didn't scrub that data. So when people went and scraped Parler, they found all these images that were very telling of what the person was doing. And guess what? Timestamp. Guess what? GPS log. Guess what? Huge issues. And I really hope people don't try to use my app the same way they're trying to use Parler, because I have no interest in that. But when it comes down to it, like, you've got to think about these things, and you have to take technology and security seriously, because if you do it wrong, if you think, oh, I'll come back to it, you probably won't. You're going to leave a vulnerability that somebody else can come in later and crack into. And I have no interest in that. And if it takes longer to develop, if it's more expensive to develop, I would rather have that problem now than I would when I have, 7 million users or something crazy.
So with Champions Keep Score, with it being a teaching tool, a learning tool, a development tool, there are a couple different apps, but one thing that I've seen with these other apps that they've gone in the direction of is being more social media now and less, they still have the features of, taking your notes and documentation, but it's almost more like social media, kind of a backdoor way into social media, I guess. With Champions Keep Score, is it in any, I'm just trying to think in the word, because, for example, Maroon, being an app that I've used in the past, had a lot to offer in the beginning, but when I've gone back to it since, it's almost kind of like, people are checking in, people are commenting, people are messaging, almost like a, Facebook or MySpace style setup. With Champions Keep Score, is it just strictly, you have your data and this is just for you, or are there share features that would be there that are kind of like light versions of social media?
Yeah. So this is one of the things I spent a lot of time just thinking about. And I mean, I'm somebody that it churns all the time. I'm thinking about things and poking holes in it. And like, is this what I want? Is this really like the direction I want to go? And like, I'm not throwing any other developers under the bus, any other apps, but the last thing I wanted was the Facebook of jiu-jitsu. There are other apps that are the social media of jiu-jitsu, and for me, you know, not throwing shade at them, like I wish them like all the success, but I don't believe that is viable for very long. There's already a Facebook with jiu-jitsu groups, and most of us don't want to have a second place to go to do this, and so like I don't believe that those are going to have long-term traction. They may be, I don't know, and I wish them the best. And if that's their business and that's their model and they believe in it, full speed ahead. But for me, like that's not what it was about. I do think being social is important. I do think the community aspect is critical, but I didn't want to start with the social media of because I felt like it was going to kind of pigeonhole me in the wrong direction. I do have a lot of features planned that will help people with social media. One of the things I'm really excited about is like the video, your sparring videos that you log or your competition videos that you log, where you'll have like a timestamp, I got arm barred at this time or whatever. At some point in the future, and not in like the crazy future, like the soon future, you'll be able to look at the list of arm bars that you've won or lost or whatever and create a highlight reel or low light reel. If you're losing by arm bar a lot, you're probably not going to just post that to social media. But, the counter, if you're winning by arm bar a lot, you may want to do a highlight reel showing your arm bar. And if you're going to have an instructionals on arm bars, that'd be really helpful to have tons of videos already marked up with like timestamps, so you could take those snippets and splice them together and make some great marketing tools, and then people share that. So like I think what I'm doing is going to be incredibly helpful for people with social media, which is really what TikTok did. TikTok, you can make this amazing TikTok video and then download it and then share it wherever you want. They didn't build the walls that like if you make an Instagram post, it's really hard to share that anywhere else except for Facebook. But TikTok said, I don't care. Here's a great service, and share it everywhere. And then we'll have a little watermark on it, and people are going to go, oh, TikTok's cool. I'm going to go check this out. Like, so not trying to copy TikTok either, but like that makes sense to me to create things that can live outside of my ecosystem that can help bring people in. So, that's just one example of a feature that I think is going to be used socially. And long term, I do want to have places where people can interact on the site, give private lessons to each other, or talk about tournaments that are coming up, and I don't know exactly how that's going to look yet, but I can see how it's going to function with as a bolt on to what we already have. So I never want to be the social media of jiu-jitsu, but I would absolutely love to be a community within jiu-jitsu that people love to go to, which is kind of like what I see Reddit. I see Reddit as a community within jiu-jitsu without being like social media. And I think you can have that and people are going to love it. And I think that's the move for me. I don't believe in competing with Facebook because I did a Kickstarter for $15,000. I don't have the resources to compete with thefacebook.com. And I don't want to. It's already there.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing too, is it's already there. We already have a social media.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I felt pretty good about MySpace personally, but I liked having a top 8 just to let my friends know, where they stood in my life. My my wife got pissed because I moved her from number 1 to number 3 once, and that didn't go over well. So maybe MySpace wasn't the best tool for me, but so sometimes
maybe
you just gotta,
you need to blow the dust off of it and bring it back. My math.
I mean, I've actually deleted my wife from my Facebook before as well. So, because I don't know how social media works. Look, I mean, you guys see me on there. I post and ghost. I don't know what I'm doing. So then when I see something that just seems weird, like, again, my wife and I, we live together. It's like, why do we need to be on social media? We talk right here.
Yeah.
So I deleted her, and she was like, why'd you delete me? And I was like, well, because you're sitting next to me and we are talking now. and she sent me like no other words. She just sent a friend request, and I was like, guess I should accept this. So I so lesson learned: never
Yeah,
delete your spouse from social media, no matter how much you talk in real life.
yeah,
Um,
I can see that.
but yeah, it's like you said, Facebook's there, the other social media outlets are there, so building this app and then having a community within the app, that's a key point because I mean, hell, even all of us on Instagram, again, we are a community, you know, from one pocket to the other to the bigger whole as well. So,
Yeah,
there's so much involved in all of that. So, again, it's great. And it's like, it just, like you said, you're always going, everything's always just tick, 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 tick going. And I can tell because like, if there's anything, you've already thought of it, or you're already in the process of addressing it, or you've already got kind of an ideal or plan, for that. So that's chess in 4D, my friend. And that's awesome.
it's
Uh,
that's actually what I called it to my wife the other day. Almost exactly is 4D chess. Everyone has a different way of thinking, and so like I have a 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional brain, where that's why I went to mechanical engineering. Is I can look at a schematic of like an engine parts, and I can see like an exploded view in my mind of how it's all like churning, and I
nice.
can see where something is going to go wrong, and like visually I'm actually turning it in my mind and flipping it around and poking holes in it, and it drives my wife crazy because I'll explain something in my 3D brain, and that it's not, she doesn't have that. She's very like, she has like almost a photographic memory, but it's like lists and it's like tables, and it's
Yeah.
for her to take like this repository of information but convert that to an image like what I have is incredibly difficult for her. And it's like, for me, like the process is everything. Like this app, like I see how the things are clicking together, and this needs to talk to that, and here's a great way to make that happen. And if these are talking together, what does that mean for this over here? And so like I already have a lot of those connections built in my mind because I've taken this and I've broken it apart. I've tried to develop it myself and broke it, and then rebuilt it and broke it and rebuilt it, and now I kind of see like the shape that I think it needs to be to get to that next level. And it's all that 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional imaging that I've done on it.
It's interesting that you break that down that way. My wife and I were talking about music recently. I've just been on this music kick again. I've always
What do you
loved
listen
music.
to?
Um, right now, I'm falling back into 70s R&B, and a big part of that is because of 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
A great deal of 90s hip hop, and I'm not like Puffy and like like later mid 90s, but I'm talking like um the early 90s where you start getting your Wu-Tang, you start getting Nas, um you have Mobb Deep. Well, Mobb Deep was more mid, but there's a lot of music that when you listen to 70s R&B, you hear a lot of those drums, you hear a lot of those horns. Al Green, there's a lot of Al Green that sampled in that. Al Green sampled himself, and my wife and I are listening to it, and just we started talking, and I started like really going into all these crazy details and just dissecting the music, and she looked at me and she was like, okay, look, I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're saying. I appreciate the music, I appreciate what you're offering, but I have no clue what you're saying. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, her brain just doesn't break it the same way that yours does.
Yeah, and I didn't think of it that way either though. I always thought I know everybody thinks differently, but hearing music, because to me it's just hearing the music. Like Missy Elliott's The Rain. We're listening to, I can't remember the original artist, but word for word, beat, note, everything. She basically just took that beginning part I'm sorry, the chorus part of the song from the 70s, I Can't Stand the Rain. And it comes on, and my wife got excited. She was like, I know this song. I was like, no. You don't know this song.
You don't know it, yeah.
You know this chorus. But you're like, no, I know this. I was like, yeah, because this is the exact, like Missy Elliott pulled this exact part of the song and then spun a different beat for the for the verses.
Yeah.
But
Changes.
Yeah.
By Tupac, like same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With one of the things that got me with Tupac and Biggie, people will hear a specific song. With Biggie, it's One More Chance. And then with Tupac, what's the song? I can't think of it right now off top, but it's from an 80s R&B group, The Barge, who's, from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And we, being from Detroit, we like claimed The Barge as our own. We're like, that's Detroit music right there, kid.
Yeah.
But anytime we would hear Biggie, it's like, but Ashanti went and sampled it as well. So when we hear her do it, it's like we get excited. Then we're like, oh, it's Ashanti. Never mind.
Oh man.
But just listening to that older music from the 70s, it is now kind of rekindling my love for 90s hip hop. And I'm just really kind of going through decades. But even with that 70s R&B, I've started going into 80s Europop, like Duran Duran.
Hungry like the wolf.
Like Hungry Like the Wolf, Reflex, Notorious. Yeah. Notorious is a big one because Biggie, with Puffy being his producer, just took that beginning part, Notorious.
Yeah.
And when Conor McGregor comes out, it's funny because we hear that part,
it's coming
but
back again. Yeah.
It's like, do we know, is he using the Duran Duran version or the Biggie version? Because we just get excited. We just hear Notorious. But I've been listening to that song specifically almost every day, just because the construction to it is just so fun. But the music from the 80s, like the MTV influenced music specifically, is really fun. And it's interesting because with MTV, how they came about, they wanted to be a rock and roll station for music videos, but the US had very limited music. So that's why we got a lot of Wham, Duran Duran, who else? A lot of the artists on MTV in the early years were all British bands. And the reason why is because they were already kind of ahead of the US with music videos. So MTV just basically was like, well, look, just bring it in. Just take this music and we're going to run with it. So that's how we got our U2. That's how we got, again, Duran Duran. Eventually, the US started catching up with our own hair bands, specifically Van Halen, Motley Crue, Poison, Bon Jovi. But right before all of them, it was all going down in England. And, a lot of that music is what got sampled into some of the 90s hip hop as well. So it's just fun breaking that music down. Oh, David Bowie. How can I ever fucking forget David Bowie?
I know. I'm mad at myself for not thinking of him.
But all that, is kind of my path right now with music. I'm just kind of going through as I'm listening to hip hop in the 90s and even the late 80s. And then I jump back over and say, okay, where'd this come from? And then even my buddy and we recorded an episode of Columpton Social Club. The audio got ruined. You'd think after a year I'd know how to do this, but somehow I lost 45 minutes of us talking about deep
That's
music.
correct.
It was just, we're talking about Mobb Deep and Shook Ones, which Mobb Deep is responsible for 3 of the greatest hip hop beats in history, with Shook Ones, Survival of the Fittest, and Quiet Storm. And Shook Ones, the way that beat got constructed is they took a Herbie Hancock song and actually just kind of chopped it up, where they basically took the end and put it at the beginning and slowed it down. And
Really?
it's just a piano. It's the piano, and then they just took a random sound from a movie to kind of just add a little razzle dazzle. And when you play it all together, it's magic. But when you break it up and see how it came together, it's beyond magic. It's just like, how did your brain think to do that?
Yeah,
And
it's so amazing.
there's a song on Ghostface Killer's first album called Daytona 500. They took a Beastie Boys track from their first album and they sped it up. You would never know it's the same beat at all. Doesn't even remotely sound close. But
Isn't that crazy?
but that speed up, it changes everything. And both songs are great. And
Yeah.
that's what's even better, is that it's not like you take a song and then say, oh, well, this song is better. Like, I know when Jay-Z and Nas were having their little beef, Jay-Z sampled Dead President, or he took the sample for Dead Presidents from Nas. I'm out for presidents, represent me. And, Jay-Z was like, you made a hot line, I made a hot song.
Yeah.
And, there is always kind of that thing where sometimes you might take something from a previous song and now you've made it better. But with this Beastie Boys track and this Ghostface track, they both stand on their own. So it's just fun deciphering these things and thinking about it. And there's a track on TikTok now. I can never think of it when I start talking about it, but it's actually a Mozart song.
I think I think it's happened a lot in the past. And I think you're going to continue to see a lot of like classical start coming back and sampled in.
And it's interesting because when you hear the Mozart version, it's like, oh my God, that is that. And then when you hear the modern version, it's just, using a lot of different instruments, but you don't hear piano in there. You hear anything but the piano. And it's like, as long as you can make it work and it serves its purpose, I think music, much like jiu-jitsu, it's freeing. And, whether you speak the language or not, at least I hope it can be appreciated. So, and that's what I always ask when I am talking about jiu-jitsu to my wife or to my family. Look, you guys may not get it, but I do hope at least you can appreciate that, this makes me feel something. And that's how I feel with music too. It's like, you may not understand that, George Michael is my favorite, like, musician, my favorite singer, I should say, like, of all time. I just love that dude's voice. And I love the way that he took music and thought about music. He reinvented himself after Wham, when he went and did Faith, like, you just see a complete overhaul. And then even after that, he reinvented himself again when he did Listen Without Prejudice Volume 1. And it's just seeing an artist, change like that over, I think his first single was 1980 with Andrew Ridgeley and Wham. And it's just great to see that kind of transformation. Like, I like that in movies though too. I like that in TV shows when you see character development over a long time. I love that in music. I just love seeing growth. I just love seeing, where you came from, where you got to, and where you're going. So
I was actually visiting my grandma a few months ago, and she was watching a documentary on Cher. And I haven't followed Cher's career like at all. I didn't know anything about her, and I wasn't particularly excited to watch the documentary, but she was watching it, and I'm going to sit there and watch it with her, and just blown away by somebody that transformed herself in so many different ways and basically lived so many different lives in her career. And the same thing, I mean, you talk about character development, like you look at Sonny and Cher and their variety show and their albums they put together and everything, and like look where she is now, and it's hard to even believe it's the same person, and just never let her circumstance define her, but rather rise above. And it's incredible.
You have artists like Cher, Madonna, Mariah Carey, even Whitney Houston. These are artists who they've gone through transformations where, especially Madonna, where she came out, true blue, and the jeans and the tacky jackets and t-shirts, and then she goes to the Material Girl off the Like a Virgin album, and the blonde hair, and then after that she goes to a redhead and does Like a Prayer, and then then she becomes this super free spirit, and in the 90s hit, she has the Erotica album, which one of my favorite Madonna songs is from that album, but I don't have that album, and that disturbs me that I don't have the album. But I have this song and I love it so much. It's called Bad Girl. And the video has Christopher Walken in it, and this it's basically a tale of a girl who's just a woman who's just living her life, and she's going out and being reckless at night and just careless, and ultimately it became her undoing. And then after that she got with Babyface Kenny Edmonds and did the Bedtime Stories album, where that's probably one of 3 albums in my collection of music. I could listen to every single song without skipping it and saying, no, I don't need to hear this. I could listen to every single song, sing every song, love every song, and then say to myself, let me go ahead and play that back. The other album being Garbage and Mariah Carey's Music Box. But it's just, when you take a character like her and she grows in a way, Cher, Mariah, Madonna, you just see this development that you don't really see it so much these days in music. I think just because things are moving too fast and the industry is kind of impatient, where they want, the next big thing now, and they don't care. I mean, we saw that kind of undoing when Britney Spears came about. She came out and then kind of transformed a little bit more. And then by the time she got to the 4th transformation, they're like, we're done with you. We need the next big thing. The only one in that era that kind of got away with it was Usher and Justin Timberlake. They were able to, Justin Timberlake more so than anything, because he started with NSYNC, then went solo and started to really grow from there. And we were just watching Trolls today, or listening to the soundtrack, and I was really thinking about that. I was like, wow, this guy went from, Like I Love You and Sexy Back to, Can't Stop the Feeling. And he's
unstoppable.
I mean, actually, in another one in there, Janet Jackson, she's another one who's transformed, just
pretty timeless.
I mean, and if we mention Janet, obviously Michael, but it's just, music is just like, I'm doing an Off the Mats episode later in July with my good buddy Bobby from Nerd Rage. We're going to be doing a music episode, and I cannot wait. As you can see, I think I just took over about 30 minutes just talking about music here.
This is, I mean, it's been awesome. Before we get too far away from specifically hip hop, do you follow the Bishop Chronicles podcast?
Yes, I've actually, he and I are going to do an episode together.
Okay, I was going to recommend, like, I cannot talk highly enough about Adisa Benjoko. Like,
yes,
I never actually heard him say his name all the way out, but he's the Bishop in my mind.
Yeah, I always just call him Bishop. He, like, I follow him. I know he's more West Coast hip hop. And I'm a little I'm there, but like there's a lot to learn on that end. The first piece of music that I
Right.
bought was Ice-T, 6 in the morning.
Really?
And yeah,
That's
wouldn't
awesome.
recommend wouldn't recommend any 11-year-old buying that. uh but that was the first cassette tape I bought. The first CD I ever bought was Amy Grant's Heart in Motion. So that just shows you how all over the place I am. I go from gangster rap, the early years of gangster rap, to Christian pop. But I did speak with Bishop. I messaged him, I want to say 3 weeks ago, and asked him like, "Hey man, just quick question: would you be willing to be a guest? And just let's talk a little bit of hip hop." And he's such a nice guy, and he was like, "Dude, I'd be honored." I was like, "Dude, no, I'd be honored. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
like,
I've messaged him a couple times, and he gave me a shout out on his podcast, and I can't talk highly enough about him. I mean, I
mhm,
respect him so much. He's got such an interesting viewpoint on
yeah,
like everything. It's not even like his hip hop viewpoint. It's super interesting because it's just not the culture I grew up in, and I love hearing about it. But beyond that, I mean, like he's into jujitsu, he's into chess, he's into meditation, and like I remember he does haikus on a lot of his so
yeah,
poetry and Japanese philosophy, and I just incredible person to have met, and or at least digitally met.
yeah. I think he is, because I was trying to figure this out after I messaged him. I think he's 50. He's 50 or 51. So I was like, I know you are older than me, but by how much? Because in my mind, it's just when you listen to his podcast, you listen to him talk. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
you've seen a lot. You have experienced a lot. And it's like, I want to know, like, because there are people, far younger than me that have seen a lot and experienced a lot. And just hearing his stories, it's like, I need to know, what is your age? Like,
yeah.
because how have you seen all this? And it's like, oh, you're 50, you're like, early 50s. I mean, that's still, I'm not far off. So,
But
but
he's
it's it.
robust too. I mean, he's
Yeah.
in, age is just a number for some people. It just
Yes.
he's I don't know, charismatic and interesting, and I just
Hmm.
can't talk highly enough about him too. So
Yeah. I'm not sure when we're going to record, but I reached out to him. I was just so excited that he said yes. I was like, dude, I like it. It was kind of one of those things where I asked Ashley Yoder if she would be a guest, and she said yes. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't expect you to say yes. So
can I have a
I,
redo? Can you say no?
yeah, like I panicked, and I went into this point where I didn't want to ask her. I didn't want to follow up because I was like, I didn't really have a plan. I was just, just kind of asking out a girl to see if she'd say yes, and if she
Yeah,
said yes, it was like, I was just joking.
yeah,
See ya. But when I asked him, I wasn't expecting him to say no, but it was also one of those things where I was like, you know what? I understand if he's busy. And when he's like, absolutely, just let me know the date. And I was like, holy shit. Like, did that just happen? Okay. Now I need to figure out a date, probably because I'm coming up on 1 year. I think August 8th. So I'm maybe going to see if I can get around to recording maybe a week before that and have him come out on the 9th, which would be my wife's birthday. But I can't stress enough how much I love music and how much I love talking about it. And sometimes I wonder, is like, do I even know what the hell I'm talking about? I don't know, but I say enough words to make it sound like I do. And
good enough for me.
just like listening, being able to listen to Bishop, being able to sit with my buddy Bobby and listen to him. I just really want to hear what other people's music experiences were and what influenced them musically. So I got at least 2 episodes, possibly 3, that I'm looking to make happen in August, late July. Uh, but I do have a question for you in relation to podcast and our community,
Yeah,
because I've spoken with a few others about this. Well, they've spoken to me, and I said, "Hey, I'm game. Let's just make it happen." Johan out in Sweden,
yeah,
he was interested in us doing a podcast. Yourself, he, me, and there's been a couple others now who've want to kind of somehow jump into this. And I'm like, well, you don't want to get too many in here, but I'm thinking Paige, BJJ Mama, as well, because you all are frequent guests on here with me. So it's like, well, let me see if I can figure this out and, work out schedule wise. If we can all get together on one episode, it's going to be tough because I think we all have kids. So it's like, okay, we have to figure out around kids. I think it's tougher for everybody else because like my kid, it's like, if I give her a microphone and just say, hey, you're part of the show too, she'll sit in the corner and just talk and think she's in it. And she's entertained. But everyone else's kids, I think needs a little bit more handling than mine, because mine is just like, oh, give me a mic, I don't care. And then she'll go disappear.
I'm fairly flexible as well. So, depending on other schedules. So that sounds awesome. I would absolutely love that.
I'm going to talk to Johan later this week, because I let him know, hey, I'm going to be talking with Zack soon. We'll sort this out and see if we can make this happen. I'm actually recording with Paige tomorrow, so I'm going to talk with her, see if we can sort it out with her.
Is she white or blue belt? She's blue, right?
She is blue. I think she got promoted right before or right as COVID started.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
So,
I wish she was a white belt, because that'd be awesome, because it'd be white, blue, purple, brown, and we could get a black belt, and it would be super cool to have like a global, like,
that would be cool. Now, dude, now you got my brain ticking. It's like, but I don't want to disinclude her. You know what? I can still include her because I'm the host. I mean, I talk enough as is. I can just be here to facilitate and let you all talk.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get a white belt in this group. And then Kent Peters has been very open to recording as well.
That would be amazing. I wanted to talk to him for a while.
Like, he's another one that made me nervous when he said yes. And I was like, oh, shit. You weren't supposed to say yes. You're supposed to say, I'm a little busy, but I will sort it out. And when he said yes, I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. And I haven't gotten back to him, and I feel horrible. But have you ever reached out to Vanessa Wexler? I have not.
That'd be another interesting, like a female black belt perspective would be super cool.
Yeah. But I've actually never, I don't know if I've even commented. I've reposted quite a few of Vanessa Wexler's posts, but I don't know if we've ever communicated.
I know that she and Johan are often like commenting back and forth on the various posts. And I think she's helped him a lot with some of his, I think, half guard passing and like triangles. I think she's pretty strong on, and I think that she's helped him a lot, and he's always like giving her props on the post. So I think that'd be awesome. That'd be super cool.
I think, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this happen. So I'm going to, Paige, Johan, I'm going to reach out to Vanessa. I'm trying to think of any, because I know white belts, but it's like, who, like, do I communicate with, like, fairly consistently? That's a white belt, because most everyone's a blue belt that I'm typically chatting with. And the only white belt that came to mind, she just got promoted to blue. So, actually, Amy from BJJ Judo.
Okay.
She's a white belt, and we had talked about doing an episode, but she was hesitant, and then she was like, "Okay, let's shoot for June." And just, I'm not the best with schedules. So I have a calendar.
As you know, reminds me.
Geez Louise. Like, that's why I had to message you, yesterday. I was like, okay, my alarm on my computer just reminded me. So let me message him now. So we don't, I don't go into today. What was I supposed to do? Oh shit. So,
which I think is what we did last time. We both like collectively went, "Uh-oh."
It's like,
so like, I will never be offended if something happens and you forget or I forget. I get it.
It's like I shouldn't forget because I have a calendar reminder on
Yeah.
my computer that I'm on all the time, and it'll pop up in the corner. I'll say, okay, I got it. I know. And I'll shut it off on snooze and then move on with my life. And then my life happens 3 weeks later. I was like, what was that? I was supposed to do something, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I
That
was
page
supposed to
seems
feed my
so
daughter.
familiar.
But
Yep.
I like that idea. I'm going to, reach out to Vanessa Wexler and see if we can make that happen. And then from there, it's just sorting out the schedules because I think it would be when I did the episode with the 6 female fighters.
Yeah.
It was fun, but I did everyone separately. I was like, I'd like to do something with people collectively. So, we can all kind of bounce ideas off of each other and talk and have an open forum. It's just scheduling is going to get weird, but we're going to make this happen. And now I'm super excited about it. As a matter of fact, that is probably now my goal to make that happen, probably more than anything, because
That'd be amazing. I would love to just get us all like cross section together and all these different people with different backgrounds, different rank, and different philosophies, and just see what happens.
yeah, I'm interested in seeing, everyone's perspective and, your path and where it came from, the beginning, the middle, and the current. I mean, I don't know. I always hate saying beginning, middle, end because it's like, well, I mean, if you're on a jiu-jitsu journey and you're doing this, I mean,
Yeah.
shouldn't have an end, but
I don't know where it
but
would go throughout the entire conversation, but it'd be kind of cool to start with like a white belt's perspective and like what's your, I don't know, I haven't thought this through completely, but what's your problem? Like, what are you struggling with? What do you think will happen and won't happen? And then let the blue belt step in and say, oh, I remember that. And, here's
yep.
what happened. And then go up the line and then just, see what happens from there.
It's like each layer has something to offer down to the previous. So I like it. I like it a lot. So as we move forward with Champions Keep Score and Student of BJJ, I know you're going to be closing down the shop very soon. Is that just basically with us Champions Keep Scores, just a lot on your plate right now, just, putting the main focus there?
There's a few things. So, I kind of try to see my life as this, it's not, but I try to see it as this cohesive idea. Everything that I'm doing is building something bigger than myself. I need to make sure all those pieces are working together. Otherwise, they're working against each other. I never set out to sell merchandise. It was never really like, all I really wanted to do is to be able to justify having the website up and running. And it's a little expensive, not super expensive. So I thought if I can sell this many shirts per year, then I'm at least breaking even. And that feels like the right direction. I designed a bunch of shirts. I enjoy drawing. I enjoy like connecting with people and enjoy making art. I stopped posting a lot of my art because it just honestly no one seemed to care about it, which is fine because I'm not that great at it. But I did have a few designs that people seem to like and resonate with, and I was happy to keep it going. And I don't know that I'm ever going to like delete the store because I'm on Teespring, so like I'm fine just having it up and running in the background. But as far as like creating new designs or if Teespring decides to pivot at some point, I'm not going to pivot with them. But the real decision came from realizing that with Champions Keep Score, it's a team effort. I'm trying to build something, but it's a whole community, and I don't have the perspective myself to be able to speak for an entire community. There's so many different people that train different ways, and so many people that have different philosophies, and I'm not interested in being like the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I started thinking like, okay, this app, I want it to be approachable for everybody. I want everyone to be able to access it. I don't want it to be a high-end gym that I'm not going to name names, but a subscription of $20 a month or $40 a month or whatever. Like, no, that's not what I'm about. I want people to be able to use this app and not break the bank. So, but it's going to be expensive. So I started thinking, how am I going to, like, what's my model here? How can I make this happen? And it's either I charge people every month some set rate is one model. I didn't really want to do that. I felt like I was going to limit myself. The other option, or one other option, would be to spam everyone with advertisements. And I didn't really want to do that either. It feels inauthentic, even if it's like a necessary evil. And so I kind of settled on the third option of having an internal marketplace. And I felt like that was on brand for me for a few reasons. One is it would allow me to sort of let people pay for the app, but also get something extra in return. If they buy something from the marketplace, then it goes to fund the app. So they're sort of paying their subscription, but just in a different way.
Sure.
I also felt like it was an opportunity, or will be an opportunity, to support small and up and coming brands. It would be a great way for someone to get exposure to jiu-jitsu super fans with their small brand without having to pay like these crazy Facebook ad prices or whatever, which gets served to so many people outside of the community. Anyone that's ever liked a Conor McGregor fight gets served a jiu-jitsu gi, and they're not going to buy it. And so it just runs up. So I thought there was an opportunity. So most of the funding of the app is going to come through a marketplace at some point.
Okay.
And in order to do that, I felt like I needed to have a good relationship with somebody before that. A brand that I could work with and have some trust back and forth built up. And so I reached out to 93 brand, and they agreed to be sort of that person for me, or that company for me. They sent me some, actually a lot of gis and rash guards. I'm basically sponsored, even though I don't compete very often. I'm probably one of the few people sponsored that doesn't have like a world champion medal. But it's because, I approached them and I want to help them, and they want to help me. So when the marketplace goes live, they're going to be the company that sort of helps me work, iron those kinks out. And they're going to be the first to market on the app. And that was, what I approached them. I wanted to really offer them value, and I knew that they could offer me a lot of help in the same way.
Sure.
So if I'm really going to be sponsored by someone, the last thing I want to do is just take their merchandise and try to sell my own. That doesn't jive. That's not every piece of my life working together. And so, when they agreed to sponsor me, which it wasn't exactly how I pitched it, but it ended up sort of the conversation led that way. I realized that it doesn't make sense for me to have a shop selling my own thing while also being sponsored for someone else. That's not authentic. That's not me. And honestly, like, the merchandise was just to keep the lights on. And now I have another plan for keeping the lights on. So I don't need to sell the merchandise. If people want it, if they want to go to the shop, like, it'll probably be there, but it's going to get harder and harder for people to find as it gets buried in the sands of time, and 93 brand is going to be the company, they took a gamble on me, and I'm very appreciative, and I'm going to do them proud. And, I wear their gear when I train. I love it. And they're going to be the first one on the app and help me get everything going there. So that's kind of why the shop is being shuttered, is it just doesn't make sense for me to have a shop anymore, with a good partner on my side and with some bigger projects on the horizon.
Right. When I initially saw your post, saying you basically, last chance, coming up to get, shirts, hats, and whatnot. I was like, wait, what? Like, okay, like I've got questions. Like, I need to know answers. But then it's weird now with having a podcast. Conversations become very weird around this house. Like, conversations with my friends become very weird because we get into conversations. I ask questions. And I'm like, we need to be recording this. So, but then also how I approach questions get really weird. Like, it's like, okay, I want to know, but I don't want to ask them. I want to I want to talk to them on the podcast about it, and kind of know from there versus like, shooting a message like, oh, okay, cool. Like that would have been good for the podcast. So when I saw it though, I was like, okay, I'm curious. Like, I was like, okay, well, he's got the app going, so that's probably taking up a lot of time. And I kind of thought like maybe there'll be, some kind of marketplace deal, within there. But it's, I couldn't wrap my brain around it because I'm very like linear with like thinking about things like that. It's just like, oh, okay, shop. Yeah. Versus like, oh, wait a minute, you've got, a sponsorship here with, this brand. And like you said, it wouldn't make sense to be selling your own products, while taking from them. So, and, that again, I can't say it enough. Like you're one of the, few stand-up dudes I know, like, because there are guys that are just like, free stuff. Now let me go sell my stuff. And, or, even worse on top of that, free stuff. Hey, who wants a, 93 brand gi? I was like, whoa, don't be a creep, guy. Because there are those out there. I know them. I've trained with them. Not dropping names. But yeah.
I hear you. So I never, it sounds, I don't know how this is going to sound, but I'm going to say it anyway. I never jumped into the merchandise game with both feet like I probably could have or should have. But I never set out to be like a brand like that. I sort of backed into it on accident, and I enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, but I've never actually like bought an inventory of things to try to sell. Like I don't want the headaches that most brands can deal with. I don't want to place an order myself. I don't want to have to put that into a box and some stamps and mail it and fulfillment and customer service and all that. And that's just a big distraction for what I want to be doing. I found a print on demand. Teespring has been like a great partner. Like they're super easy to use. I think that's what you use as well. Like it makes it super easy for someone to make like a side hustle without dealing with all those headaches of brands. But you know what? The fact that I never bought a set of rash guards and sold them, or I never bought gis and sold them, really is like an obvious sign that that's not where my heart was, and that's not where my faith was. I did not believe that was my path forward, was being that kind of brand. And so it's easy to step away from it.
That's one thing that I realized with Teespring is just, this is something where you can kind of get your feet wet and know, if you want to be more hands-on with this kind of stuff and which direction to go with it. And yeah, they're great to work with. I've ordered, I ordered a sweatshirt, one of your sweatshirts, and me being me, I was excited, didn't pay attention, ordered, it got here. It's like, why is this so tight on me? It was a small, and with no questions asked, they sent me a large. I was like, how do I send this one back to you? They're like, just keep it, dude. Like,
they're
honest
incredible.
mistake.
Their customer service is second to none. I cannot speak highly enough about them.
Yeah, they're, I've had to actually on my own and, talk to them a few different times. And again, just very easy to work with, very just carefree. Just it's almost like it just doesn't, it's too good to be true. When I have to email them, like, hey man, I messed up again. Or he's like us an email like, hey, it's me again. I'm just waiting for them to say, messed up again. Yep. You know it. You know exactly what I did. Ordered the wrong size again. I've ordered the wrong size, I want to say 4 times now. And, now I know.
You're on the list now. You're like on the government list from Teespring.
As soon as they see my name come up, they're like, hold on, don't print anything yet. Just wait. He's going to message us.
Yeah. Just send him the wrong thing on purpose.
He ordered small. Just send him a large. Like,
just send him a large.
I had a teammate. They asked for a small. I was like, I'm not falling for that. I'm going to go ahead and order this medium for you. Because like the small, like, and the thing is that small sweatshirt though, it did kind of fit. It was just a little snug, but it did fit. So, but either way, that's, it just sounds great though with, what you have planned moving forward. So as I've said before, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to all of this because it's good to see a friend set out to do something and then see it come to light. But not just that, it's something that is multifaceted. It's like it does so much for this community that I don't know. I can't find the words, but I'm feeling like, look, we're already kind of a community that's relatively tight. And I think this helps in that regard too. Now with us learning and then being able to call back to how we broke this down and, oh, like you did this on there, saying, okay, here, let me show you, how mine went. I just had a deep discussion about cults a couple of days ago. And I was talking about how jiu-jitsu is a cult, but it's not a cult. And,
They can walk the line.
it's, I asked my buddy, I go, hey, what's a cult? But doesn't seem like a cult. He was like, I need to think about this. I was like, don't even worry about it. I got the answer. It's jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, I think everything I'm involved with has like strong ties to cults, but it's not. Collecting action figures, kind of culty. Doesn't seem like it until you get into those communities and start going to the conventions. And it's like, holy shit, I'm in a cult. But just like with, the way things are coming along, I feel like this is going to be a game changer. And I just can't say enough good things about it. Like, listening to you, explain it and just kind of give a breakdown and discuss everything. I'm like, dude, I need thousands and thousands of people to hear this episode.
I appreciate that, man, so much.
I'm gonna go over and mess with Nerd Rage Radio and see if I can get them to like, hey, can you play a snippet for me, please? Because I didn't realize that, like, my numbers aren't huge. They're decent, but their numbers are fucking monstrous. I was like, holy shit.
Their Instagram has what, 300,000 last time I looked, or something crazy? Like,
I think they're at 300 or 400,000. They're at a lot. And but apparently right from the beginning, episode 8 for them had a crazy amount of downloads. I was like, wow, they had more downloads on that one episode than I have combined.
Holy moly.
And I'm just like, holy shit. But Nerd Rage, as I tried to explain to my former teammate who kind of got me started with BJJ Wiki, Nerd Rage Radio, they had at the time 700 Facebook followers. That was 700 strong who signed up for the Patreon, who listened to the podcast, who was consistent, versus BJJ Wiki's Facebook that I just inherited had 20,000. I'm sorry, I brought 15,000 to it. They had 20,000 at the time. And I was like, do we know who any one of these 20,000 followers are outside of people from our gym? It was like, my point that I was trying to make to him was like, I would much rather have 500 solid followers than to have 20,000 questionable followers. And that's how Nerd Rage kind of functions, and they just continue to grow. When we have Skull Fest, which is we didn't do it last year because of COVID, and this year, as we're still kind of reeling from COVID, but when we were doing Skull Fest in the past, we had people coming from London.
That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like it's just crazy to think, like, we got people coming from across the Atlantic Ocean to hang out with us for the weekend. It was this big party. Bobby throws it at his house, and they're just wonderful hosts. And but that's power of community. That community, there's nothing but love there. It's a 1-year anniversary of one of the guys from a sister group who passed away unexpectedly in his sleep. and the outpour of support for the family, his son, his widow.
Man.
It was beautiful. And he's a collector, and people driving up to New York to help appraise and set up, to sell the items, so that way this can now go towards his son's college, because unfortunately he didn't have life insurance. So
Oh man.
it was just a wake-up call for a lot of us, because we're all in the same age bracket. So we're all like, holy shit, we need to drop that 27 a month,
never know.
take care of the future. So, but when it comes to community, I can't stress enough how important it is, whether it be with the collecting community or the jiu-jitsu community. It's all family, and I couldn't be happier to be a part of any of it. So thank you, for what you've done with this jiu-jitsu community. And just when we've needed a spokesperson and a voice of reason in several situations, you've been that guy. So thank you for that, because if you leave it up to, we have a lot of big brains and a lot of, big thinkers, but some of us are ready to go guns a-blazing without assessing the situation. But again, community is strong, is beautiful, and I can't say enough good things about it.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It's we're a tribe, which you were mentioning, having 20,000 followers that you didn't know versus 500 that were committed. I think it was Tim Ferriss was talking about the tribe of 1,000, and how it's having 1,000 people that were like 100% on your side and at your back was way more powerful than having 500,000 people that, or whatever number he used, that didn't really know or care. They're just sort of along for the ride. Yep. And how, if you can get your first 500,000 people that really, truly believe in you, then you've already done more than what a lot of people, that are trying are able to do.
It gets weird with BJJ Wiki at times to me, because there is a pocket of people that I know I communicate with consistently. I want to say it's about 10 that I know consistently I can turn to and say, hey, first off, if I have a question, I know I can turn to, any one of these 10. Number one, I can always, when I ask somebody, how are you? That is a genuine question from me. Like, I genuinely mean that. So I know when I do say that to a lot of people, it kind of comes off weird. But, those 10, I know I can go and say, hey, how are you? And I feel like I can get like an honest response. But, outside of that 10, it starts to get a little muddy. Now, that's not to say that, anything 11 and above isn't genuine. It's just, it's more like, okay, we don't talk as much. I would love to talk more, but, it's like, this 10 that I talk with here, I have a little bit more commitment here. Yep. And then as it starts to grow, now you have to kind of spread yourself more to accommodate. But as long as I know that as I start to spread myself more, as long as it's appreciated, versus, it's like I have people, they'll message me asking me to repost stuff, and I don't mind reposting. I love the reposts. I mean, that's how my page grows is from reposts. And people, like, dude, thank you so much. It's like, dude, no, thank you. Because without, I'm like, look, I don't know how my page grew. I'm still baffled by it, but it did. And maybe it's because I was kind of a pest. Maybe it's just like I was constantly post after post, because there was a point I used to post 15 times a day.
Really?
It was aggressive. It was 7:30 in the morning. I would post 3. Then I think 10:30 I would post another 3. Then 12:30 another 3. Then 3:30 another 3. Then no. I think somewhere around there was 6 o'clock, and then the last one was at 10. And White Belt BJJ, I was also running his page, his Facebook page. He was telling me, you're posting too much. Slow down. Facebook's they're going to slow you down. They're going to stop feeding your posts. I was like, okay, I don't. So I hear you. So he took me off of White Belt BJJ, but he left me on BJJ Wiki. And eventually, I think just BJJ Wiki, I think between those two pages, he was like, well, look, you've kind of grown this on your own. So here, take it type deal. But White Belt BJJ was his because he was still filtering BJJ Dayton and something else through that. So, but once like BJJ Wiki became my project alone, I was like, okay, I hear you. I'm going to drop it down to 6 posts per day. I didn't feel the traction as much. I jumped back up to 9. I was like, 9 feels like the sweet spot. This seems to work. 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, 3 at night. And that seems to have been working ever since. And that's when the traction started to really grow to where it's at. So, again, with that being what it is, your page, Johan's page, YouTube specifically, because I think I've posted probably YouTube more than anyone. I can't thank you guys enough. Like BJJ Wiki is because of, Johan and Zack. So it's like when there's technique videos, you guys are posting them. And I'm just like, okay, I've got them stashed. I'm going to repost your post from 6 weeks ago today. So that way they got it 6 weeks ago. Here's a reminder, just in case you forgot. So
it's been an amazing partnership on both ways. I can't speak for him, but I'm going to in saying, it's much appreciated. You've been an incredibly welcoming person within the community, and when you first start an Instagram account and you have like 2 followers and one of them is yourself from another account, you look at big accounts and you think that they're just like an empire, and you think, I can't even imagine. I make a post and I get 1 like, and maybe like a bot makes a comment or something.
Oh yeah.
And it's just so hard for your voice to be heard over the rush. And I can't specifically remember the first time you shared, but I do remember like the feeling of like, oh my God, like I told my wife, like this account, BJ Wiki just shared my post, and he has like 25,000 followers or whatever it was at the time. And it was like a pop the champagne. Like, that's incredible. I made it. And, it's just incredible that things have just kept going, and that, we're friends now, and those walls are down. And, I'm just super thankful for everything that you've done. And if I can double your size, I will happily do it, because, thank you.
Yeah, it's like I said, a lot of your posts I've actually learned from as well. So, it's not just, a thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to repost this. Like I told my buddy when we started the new podcast, we were calling it Adios Pantalontes. And I was not behind that name. And I explained to him, I was like, look, I will not promote something I don't believe in. And I did not, and it wasn't a podcast I didn't believe in. It was the name. It just made no sense. Once we switched it to Colompton Social Club, I was like, holy shit, I'm in.
Which is a great name, by the way. I haven't told you that.
Thank you.
I'm super jealous of both BJJ Wiki, and actually Off the Mats is also an amazing name. So you seem to have a nose for that kind of thing.
Off the Mats definitely happened accidentally. It was a vote. It was a vote for it, but the name that I wanted, I don't even remember it anymore. I had a different name that I was sold on. I was like, I'm throwing this name in the hat, and it didn't even make it out of the first round. I was like, holy shit, that sucks. And then Off the Mats and A young lady from Germany. She submitted 3 names. Off the Mats was one of them. Or basically 2 out of her 3 made it to the finals. And I loved both of them. And I was like, I'm okay with either of these. But Colompton Social Club, we actually had a rec league basketball team a few years back, and we were called the Colompton Mafia. And I told my buddy, we were sitting here texting back and forth one night, and I was like, hey, man, why the fuck have we not thought to use Colompton as our podcast name? He was like, you're right. I'm working on it right now. He texted me at 1 a.m. He sent me over the graphic. It was like Colompton Social Club. I was like, fucking make it happen, dude. I love it. And since then, I'm 10,000% behind it. I'm resharing it. But that's, kind of what I'm getting at is, reposting your technique videos always made me feel like, look, I believe in these techniques. I'm practicing them. And if I didn't believe in them, I wouldn't repost them.
Yeah.
Even if someone has something shitty to say, like, well, that wouldn't work because of this. I think there was one incident a couple years back, maybe someone jumped in and really got really shitty about one of the posts. And it was like, dude, relax. And, I went to the point of looking him up.
Yeah.
Like I went in because it was about to get really ugly because I was like, first off, who the fuck are you? Number one, but number two, like what's going on in your life? Because that's where I always go when somebody gets angry. I'm like, what's going on in your life? Do you need to talk? Do you need a hug? And it's not me being condescending. No, that's me being genuine. Like, do you want to talk? Because I'll talk. I listen.
People are rarely mad about the things that they're mad about.
Yeah, it's like, but this dude went in and. I looked him up. I was like, oh, he's I was like, you're a black belt? Who the fuck gave you a black belt with that shitty attitude? Like, you're not a black belt. You're a shitty human. And, I'm just like going through all these internal battles in my mind, but that was the whole thing. It was like, I believe in your posts. And I was like, I'm going to fucking fight for it. And again, not just that, I'm learning from these posts. So, and maybe not everybody's going to learn from what I'm learning from, but I'm going to share and let people know, like, look, I found this cool video. I like it. I hope you guys like it. Then with Johan, him posting a lot of Williams guard posts. That's been something floating around my gym because of him.
Yeah.
Me reposting those. I got teammates constantly just working on. I was like, don't do that to me. I posted this morning. Don't do this to me. You're being an asshole. So you guys have definitely been a huge contribution to BJJ Wiki and just, the growth, the community in itself. And, I look at the stats when I see the follows, what posts have got me the most follows. Like, there are a lot of BJJ for the culture. A lot of her posts have got me a lot of follows. Your posts have got me a lot of follows. Johan's have got me a lot of follows. And I'm just like, you know what? That's, again, appreciate it. It's like I said, the community, they see something like, okay, if, your algorithm, that's the word, I think. If it's not catching and people aren't seeing it there, and then I repost it, like, all right, so here's an extra, 8 people that saw it differently. Okay, cool. As long as it's being seen and fed to the community, that's all I care about, because I love jiu-jitsu and I want to give back as much as I can. And hopefully soon, like now that I'm messing with TikTok, I'll start making my own actual videos. Like, I have I think I posted 2 of my own videos on TikTok, just kind of messing with it. I was like, okay, I threw one of me getting armbar, triangle, and omoplata. And then I put up one of me spitefully sweeping my teammate because I was mad at him. Like, I swept him. All 3 of these sweeps happened in one roll. And then he pissed me off, so I posted them to Instagram. Nice. Then I sent them to him. It was like, because when we were doing no-gi, he was just slamming me around, and I just had no answer. So I went home and I was like, okay, you want to fucking embarrass me? I got you. I sent it to him first. And then I posted the Instagram, said, welcome to the world. So, but I'm going to start, now kind of looking into like, let me, put some of my own things out here because I'm competent enough to actually drill a technique and show it. And I've actually, my last guest on the podcast, Christina Calderon, whenever I train on Sundays, I drill the technique with my friend, and then I send them to her because she just got promoted to blue belt. So she was a white. It was like, here, we worked on this. Da, da, da. She's like, oh, cool. These techniques are really cool. I'm going to work on these. Like that was like, oh, okay, cool. Like someone said something nice, confidence. Yeah. All right. So now I'm like, okay, well, I do have quite a few things where I can start actually just post my own shit, but I like posting other people's shit. So there's
you
that.
get a good mix of it then. I absolutely love seeing when you put out some original stuff, man.
Thank you. Like I'm always weird about it because like when I look at it, I'm like, I think this might work. And then I'll look at it more. I'm like, maybe not. And then the one post I put up, Tony, she and I were just talking back and forth. She's like, dude, make that a meme. I was like, are you sure? She was like, yeah, just do it. That's jiu-jitsu. That's us. That makes sense. I was like, okay, I guess. And then I posted it and it got a lot of reshares. I was like, holy shit, they like me. They really, really like me.
People are always really concerned about being, funny or being epic. And man, I don't know how many people in the world train jiu-jitsu, but it's, well over 1 million, well over 1 million. And the majority of those people aren't especially funny and aren't especially epic. And you don't have to be one of those to resonate with someone, to connect with people. And that's the biggest thing I've learned from my account is, I'm not standing on the podium showing my medals. I am like bearing my soul. I'm trying to connect with people through my memes, which are, I guess they're funny, but like when I'm making them, the thought process in my mind is not, oh, people are going to think this is funny. It's like, oh, this is something that I've experienced and I think other people have experienced this and I think they'll appreciate that. And then this weird thing in human nature is when you see something that you recognize, it makes you want to laugh. My stuff, if you really take a step back, is not very funny. It really isn't. But what it is it's a true representation of my experience. And it's a true representation of other people's experience. And that connection there is what drives people and it resonates. And you don't have to be like insane at jiu-jitsu, and you don't have to be, anything crazy to really just be appreciated,
That's the one point that you just made. There's like, ultimately it's relatable. When I see a meme, I laugh because it's really, especially when the kids class memes are just they're hilariously relatable for me because they're like, those are the things I think is like, teaching these kids wrist locks today.
Yep.
Like I'll get in, it's like, what's that? Oh, come here, you're gonna be the uki today. Yep. Guess what? You're getting heel hooked. It's like one of my kids tried to when he was doing his belt test a couple years back, he tried to do a Peruvian necktie on me. And I've never forgiven him for it. And anytime that we did King of the Hill a few weeks back, because we were doing takedowns, and I squared up with him, and he was he 16? No, he's 15, I believe. But he's a big enough kid. And I looked at him and was like, you tapped hands, no mercy. Because I'm not gonna ever forget. He hit me with an overhand right. Like, because we do the Muay Thai belt testing and everything too. Hit me with an overhand right, and it didn't really like, really, really rock me, but I was stunned, so I just continued to go. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go down. We're going to work from the ground. As I hit the ground, I kind of turtled up, and he dove on it. And, he reaches around, threw the one leg over, the timer went off. And I looked at him. I looked at my coach. I was like, did you just see that? He was like, what? I was like, oh my God, you didn't see, he just tried to Peruvian necktie me. He was like, what? And, he's like, he's definitely getting his belt now. I was like, I was like, no, don't celebrate this. Like, this is disrespectful. I was
Kick
like,
him out of the gym. What is this?
like I'm worried now because I know he's been watching YouTube videos on hill hooks.
Uh-huh.
He's hunting for me, so now I got to get him before he gets me.
Yeah, get your
But
buff in.
but no, those kids class memes definitely relate 10,000%. Just all the memes, anything that I reshare is usually because it's relatable to some point in my life where I'm like, yep, I know what that feels like. All right, it is getting pretty late on both our ends, so let's go ahead and wrap up here. uh Zach, again, as usual, thank you for doing this with me. this has been
Anytime, man. I love it.
this has been an all over the place podcast, and those are my favorite kind. So thank you for being a guest on for another episode of Off the Mats. And any shout outs or mentions you want to throw out there?
Always. So I already shouted out Bishop Chronicles. Absolutely a podcast worth listening to, especially if you are into a variety of interesting topics. West Coast hip hop is a major theme of it, but chess, jujitsu, meditation, poetry, just super interesting. Um, Another of my favorite accounts that I follow, Elshig at ELSHIG. Her name is Shiggy. She's I guess, a sound engineer over in England.
Ooh,
And
sorry, not to cut you off there. Thank you for connecting me with her, because on two of my earlier episodes, I didn't know how to convert the video.
yeah,
She saved my life on that
she's
because
incredible.
I had no clue, and she got me the proper links. So thank you.
Yeah, so she's actually dropping a project pretty soon. I still need to sign up for it. I'm going to do it. But she's doing she's starting a course on how to find your digital voice. And it's going to be, she's trying to get a starter group together and help people find the confidence and techniques of speaking on the internet, basically. But she's putting together like a larger course, and so it's sort of like beta testing that. So I'm going to do it. I think it's going to be very, very interesting and a great value. But she is incredible. I love all of her content. She's very vulnerable, very well spoken. Like she doesn't. I say like a lot. She doesn't. She just, it rolls off the tongue, and everything she says is fantastic. So I love her point of view. There's the usual accounts that I can't not shout out. So Jits Bitch, being in the circle, she's incredible. Somebody that really cares about the community and does way more than her lion's share of helping people.
Yep.
I'm super happy to have come in contact with her. McDojo Live, he's got some big stuff coming down the pipe. I'm very, very excited about some of the things that he's going to be doing soon. And I'm very excited for the good that he does in the world, calling people out for sharing bad martial arts. And he's another person that I'm very happy is in the community, and is it not just in the community, but a champion for it. He's fearless, calling people out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then you already mentioned, BJ for the culture. I don't think we've mentioned El Matador, but another one that's great in the community. And then Horseplay Jiu-Jitsu, another one. We have kind of our meme group that we banter back and forth, and everyone there is incredible. And then I'm sure that I could probably go on forever and ever, but Galit Cooper is somebody else that I don't think I've mentioned before. She used to run the BJJ Girl Gang Instagram, and she didn't have time, and she just converted that account to her personal account. But she is somebody that's been incredibly influential for me on the Instagram side of things since almost day one. Probably around the time that you shared your first post was around this of mine, was around the same time that she contacted me and asked if I wanted some free branding advice. And we had a phone call, and she just sat down and brain dumped on me. And it was the things that she said. It was like hearing Danaher speak for the first time, like I'd never thought of Instagram as being something tactical, as being something with a larger frame of reference. And it really like started me down the path of, what am I doing? And my words matter. And how do I make sure that my words are on brand always? How do I make sure that people know my voice, and not just know my voice, but, can expect me to be consistent with it, that I'm not all over the place. And she's a really great soul. She's somebody that I really respect and appreciate. And I've never really given her a shout out, even though she deserves like way, way more than I've given her back. You know what I mean? So, and then Johan, and then of course the man himself, Dante.
Oh, well, thank you. You stole my shout out. No, thank you. And one other thing I was thinking about with you, and as I was kind of thinking about music and relating and connecting us all. I'm not sure if you're familiar. Most people are familiar with House of Pain, Jump Around. Everlast being, the lead to the group,
Mm-hmm.
and how he transformed from Everlast of House of Pain to Everlast doing Whitey Ford Sings the Blues, and then and so forth.
Just the title of that song gives me goosebumps. I mean, that is a powerful.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
He one thing that his producer Dante Ross made a point of with him, and I connect this to you with just student of BJJ, now Champions Keep Score, and Brandon, and kind of transforming. But basically, what Dante Ross was saying to Everlast is, you have to change yourself up. You have to change up your brand. Whether it be, you do House of Pain, and you're walking around with the, the Boston Celtics jerseys on, and you're, claiming Ireland. They're not Irish at all. He's not Irish at all, but they ran with it and people got behind them. So it was a smart move. Then he went and switched his whole musical style up to kind of a folk, kind of rock country type style. And then he came back with, kind of in that same style for his next couple albums. Then he went back to hip hop with La Coca Nostra. So basically what I'm getting at is, I see that changing of style with you as well, as, you see that growth, that character development. You're coming from, one thing here where you came into this, just, sharing your knowledge and, sharing what you have, the show for people to learn. And, you're still in that same pocket, but now you've taken it to another level of helping people understand how they're learning. And, again, I can't thank you enough for just being that individual and sharing your wisdom and again, being a voice for our community. Like I said, when we're in those groups and we're all going crazy and we're, ready to go to war, and you're like, hold on, sit the fuck down and think. Like, let's be reasonable. And you and Rob are the two voices of reason why we're all like, burn it down. So
I think I may have also said burn it down, but just maybe after thinking about it to make sure that was the right thing to do.
So there was one point where you did go there. I was like, no, not you. It was like, but I think he's already done kind of the thinking part. I was like, okay, last resort, now burn it down. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm very slow to anger, but when it gets there, it's there's a reason for it.
Well, at least, there's a work through for it. But thank you. And thank you to everybody who's been listening to the podcast. I, appreciate you greatly. We cannot thank you enough. I'm coming up on 1 year, pretty close to it. And like I've said a few times recently, in the beginning, I was scared that I couldn't keep guests on here. And now I can't even keep up with the guests. It's phenomenal. So I thank you all who are, supporting this podcast. It's amazing. So thank you. Huge shout out to my guest today, Zack, over at Student BJJ. That shout you out on every episode, dude. So this is like just business as usual. Um, you know, shout out to Champions Keep Score, which is also Zach's new project. Be on the lookout for further details coming up on that. Big shout out to Nerd Rage Radio. I cannot stress enough how much these dudes mean to me and how much they've helped me. Also, if you're not subscribed, please go do so. Go get on board. They put together a lot of fun stuff, and leave a comment, leave a review, do it on iTunes. It really helps them out. BJJ Mama is another one. Big shout out. She's going to be my next guest upcoming. So, be on the lookout for details there. And if you look for some positivity and motivation, go to her page. She's got it for you. Plenty of it.
Yeah.
So thank you. Otherwise, you all keep listening to this podcast, and I'm going to keep on making it. Thank you so much, y'all. Goodbye.
Deep with it. Now let me sing a song.